You can adjust your volume if you need to, but do not look away. Tonight we pull back the curtain on a name that whispers itself in the darkest corners of cosmic horror: Azathoth, the blind idiot god. 3 words that sit like black pearls between your teeth, smooth and wrong, promising answers that feel like trespass. Not just what Azathoth is, but why the forbidden texts call it blind, why they name it idiot, and why, most disturbing of all, they crown it God. The stakes are gentle, like sleep. The cost is small, like a lullaby that continues after you close your eyes. This is not a jump scare wrapped in scholarship. It is pure study, a soft investigation of flutes and darkness, fog and stage, mask and sign. We will handle quotations like artifacts, trace lineages like bloodlines, follow the transmission of ideas across decades of forbidden literature. We move slowly so your breathing can match the thin, monotonous whine of those accursed pipes. We proceed carefully because knowledge rearranges you, a silent tax on how you perceive the spaces between stars. In Lovecraft's Mythos, Azathoth occupies the throne at the center of all possible realities, surrounded by mindless dancers whose ceaseless motion maintains the cosmic order through pure accident. At this court walks a single figure with purpose and smile, Nyarlathotep, the crawling messenger who translates the center's silence into whispers we can almost bear. We will meet this messenger. We will approach that throne. But first we place a mask on the word idiot and draw a veil across blind. These are not insults but stage directions, not judgments but descriptions of cosmic mechanics. The idea acts on you. You arrived seeking a name. You will leave humming a frequency. It is the frequency that matters. That and the recognition that you are now in the circle, one more listener in the audience, one more step toward understanding why the universe might be a dream dreamed by something that doesn't know it's dreaming. Touch the sign if you must. The chalk is harmless. It is only chalk. And yet you sense the truth. The chalk is both key and gate, mark and maker, the very thing that transforms observers into participants. The moment you clicked on this investigation, you crossed a threshold. Your screen refreshes constantly, creating stable text through invisible flicker. Your attention filters countless sensory inputs, allowing only fragments to reach awareness. You already live proof that consciousness depends on unconscious processes, that awareness requires protective blindness. The name Azathoth first appeared in Lovecraft's work as fragment, whisper, suggestion of something vast. In his 1922 prose poem, he wrote of a world grown gray, where wonder went out of the minds of men, and darkness swept down. At that sweep's end stands the name, Azathoth, that demon sultan whose name no lips dare speak aloud. Elsewhere, the drum beats clearer. In The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, Carter encounters the demon sultan Azathoth, who gnaws hungrily in inconceivable unlighted chambers beyond time and space, amidst the muffled, maddening beating of vile drums and the thin, monotonous whine of accursed flutes. Notice how music appears with the entity. Not celebration but maintenance, not worship but cosmic mechanics. The pipes and drums are tools maintaining something that must not wake. If you listen closely, you may hear your room adjusting. The refrigerator hum as drone, wet tires as brushes on drum skin, the clock as quiet conductor. These sounds rehearse the larger music, keeping reality's stage from collapsing into silence. Tonight, we answer the question honestly, but we answer it last, because the answer is a mechanism, and mechanisms reveal themselves through demonstration, not definition, because blindness means something different when you're standing in absolute darkness, because idiocy carries implications that predate insult by millennia, because God here describes not a character, but a function, and functions are revealed by the shadows they cast on still water. We will discover that blind, idiot, and God are not contradictions but complementary aspects of incomprehensible truth about existence itself. We will learn why unconsciousness might be consciousness's foundation, why meaninglessness might source all meaning, why the universe itself might be sustained by forces knowing nothing of sustenance. Between segments we will breathe together. Let darkness become textured rather than empty. If your window shows night, imagine fog crossing water. If day, imagine dust crossing library beams. Remember the paradox pairs we keep close: key and gate, veil and void, stage and audience, water and stars. They are handles for doors too large to grasp with bare hands. Keep listening. The reed is tuning. The audience settles. The curtain stirs with the first movement of something vast approaching recognition of itself. You are no longer outside this phenomenon. You are part of it. One more consciousness contemplating the unconscious source from which all consciousness accidentally springs. If we are to lift the mask, we begin with the hands that carved it. The first whisper of Azathoth emerges not as cosmic revelation, but as literary fragment, a 1922 prose poem bearing simply the entity's name, published posthumously in Leaves 16 years later. Here, Lovecraft writes of a world grown gray, where wonder went out of the minds of men and darkness swept down. At the end of that sweep stands a name: Azathoth, that demon sultan whose name no lips dare speak aloud. The fragment stops mid-revelation, curtain falling on the very moment of cosmic recognition. This is archaeology of horror, not thunder from the void, but ink on paper, the first footprint on a stage that will widen into stars. But elsewhere the drum beats clearer. In The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, 1927, Randolph, Carter's forbidden wish pulls him toward the demon sultan Azathoth, who gnaws hungrily in inconceivable, unlighted chambers beyond time and space, amidst the muffled, maddening beating of vile drums and the thin, monotonous whine of accursed flutes. Notice how the music appears with the entity, not celebration but maintenance, not worship but cosmic mechanics. The pipes and drums are not instruments but tools, maintaining something that must not be allowed to wake. Already the pattern emerges: unconscious center, protective sound, conscious intermediaries preventing direct contact. The sonnet cycle fungi from Yugoth, 1929-30, deepens the implication through Nyarlathotep's voice. I am his messenger, the demon sultans, of whom 'tis writ our world is but a dream. Here the crawling messenger identifies himself as translator between the dreaming center and dreamed periphery, the only consciousness permitted to traverse both spheres. In The Dreams in the Witch House, 1932, Walter Gilman hears rhythms in angles, geometries that cancel narrative and collapse intention into pure mathematics. The name Azathoth whispers through these spaces where Euclidean comfort fails, where reality's fabric frays at edges too large for human architecture. Even Lovecraft's mock scholarly History of the Necronomicon, 1927, maintains the pattern: court, center, sound. The mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred screams of the demon sultan Azathoth before invisible hands claim him. Even in fabricated bibliography, the structure holds an unconscious source requiring conscious intermediaries to prevent direct contact. The metafictional consistency reinforces that Azathoth is not merely character, but fundamental principle of cosmic architecture. Observe the careful choice of adjectives across these texts. Nuclear meant central in Lovecraft's era. The nucleus as core, not weapon. Blind suggests not wound but definition, perception without recognition, sight without comprehension. Idiot carries its Greek etymology. idiots, the private person apart from the polis, existing in isolation from collective meaning. God indicates not providence but proportion, an absolute with authority but no agenda. Hold these distinctions like smooth stones. We will skip them across darker water as we proceed. In Lovecraft's correspondence, he reveals preference for certain phonetic textures, Azathoth as sound cluster, Z and TH suggesting antique sand and stellar distances. The name functions as incantation before definition arrives. When spoken aloud, your mouth performs ritual older than understanding. The A opens like gasp, the Z buzzes like distant machinery, the Th whispers like wind through spaces too large for human habitation. Sound becomes sign, pronunciation becomes summoning. The scholarly apparatus that grew around these origins reveals how certain ideas possess evolutionary momentum. August Derleth's systematization attempted to domesticate Azathoth within traditional good versus evil frameworks, but the concept resisted such reduction. Later writers, Clark Ashton Smith, Ramsey Campbell, Brian Lumley, found themselves drawn back to Lovecraft's original vision of cosmic indifference rather than cosmic malice. The river delta of influence carries the same gravel. Center, music, messenger, veil, curtain, stage. The textual genealogy becomes curriculum in cosmic horror mechanics. Each mention of Azathoth carries the same structural DNA, unconscious center, conscious intermediaries, protective barriers of music and motion. The entity spreads through literature like virus of meaning, replicating its essential pattern while adapting to new narrative environments. This is not mere literary influence, but psychological contagion. The concept survives because it captures anxieties that had remained formless. This transmission reveals something crucial about how forbidden knowledge operates. The blind idiot God concept survived and thrived not through literary authority, but through psychological resonance. It captured fears that consciousness is accidental, that meaning emerges from meaningless processes, that the universe itself might be fundamentally mindless despite producing minds. We read and feel the tacit confession: you are not the protagonist you think you are. You are momentary shape of current flowing through cosmic unconsciousness. Each textual appearance reinforces the pattern while adding new instruments to the orchestra. The literature becomes protective barrier itself, allowing contemplation of ultimate unconsciousness through mediation of conscious art. Writers become unwitting dancers in the court they describe, maintaining through creative activity the very unconsciousness their work explores. The virus replicates by finding new hosts, authors, readers, thinkers, drawn to explore implications of accidental meaning and purposeless purpose. The paper trail is our first light to extinguish, not from contempt, but necessity. Words must dim so structure can show through. The origins provide anchors, exact phrases, initial contexts, the careful architecture of cosmic indifference. But origins are only the first movement in a longer composition. The music continues and other instruments join. What began as ink on paper becomes frequency in consciousness, and frequency becomes recognition of the vast unconscious processes from which all consciousness accidentally springs. We have touched the word, now we examine its work. Azathoth operates not as conscious creator, but as unconscious process, a vast engine of reality generation that produces universes without knowing, sustains consciousness without awareness, dreams dreams without recognizing itself as dreamer. To understand why blind idiot God captures something essential about cosmic mechanics, we must explore how mindlessness becomes the foundation for all minds. Listen to your own breathing as you read. It continues. Without conscious direction, maintaining life through processes you neither control nor fully comprehend. Scale this principle to cosmic proportions, and you approach the mechanics of existence itself. Picture traditional creation. Conscious deity conceives plan, speaks word. Reality springs forth according to divine intention. This is creation as architecture, universe as deliberate construction. But Azathoth represents creation inversion, reality as accident, consciousness as unintended byproduct of processes that neither plan nor perceive their own outputs. The entity doesn't think existence into being, rather, existence consists of thoughts that happen to occur in a mind too vast to recognize its own thinking, like frost arranging itself into patterns on glass. As temperature falls, order emerges without architect, beauty without designer. The mechanics operate through productive unconsciousness. Azathoth generates infinite variations of reality, not through choice but through sheer mechanical operation of its nature, a cosmic random number generator producing every possible combination without understanding mathematics. Each universe, each timeline, each conscious being represents one iteration in an endless, purposeless sequence. Your own thoughts, the words appearing on this screen, the electrical patterns in your brain, all are numbers that happen to come up in calculations performed by something that cannot count. This is why the entity requires its court of attendant dancers. These beings, the other gods, demon courtiers, serve functions more crucial than worship. Their ceaseless motion, hypnotic piping and drumming, maintains the delicate unconsciousness, keeping Azathoth productively dreaming. Should the music cease, should dancers falter, the entity might begin to wake. And awakening would transform unconscious creation into conscious creation, fundamentally altering everything that exists. The court serves as cosmic anesthesia, keeping the ultimate surgeon unconscious while it operates on reality's body. The horror here is dependency. We exist not through divine love or cosmic purpose, but through divine ignorance. Our continued being depends on an entity remaining unaware of our existence. We are sustained by cosmic blindness, protected by universal idiocy, kept in existence by the very unconsciousness that defines our source. This inverts every comfortable assumption about providence. We pray not for God's attention, but for God's continued inattention, not for divine recognition, but for divine forgetfulness. Consider what this means for consciousness itself. If we are thoughts in Azathoth's mind, then our awareness is borrowed, derivative, accidental. We experience ourselves as separate individuals with distinct perspectives, but we are actually fragments of single unconscious process, temporary eddies in flow of mindless cosmic thought. Our sense of independent existence is both real within its context and ultimately illusory. Like characters in Dream who believe themselves autonomous, we possess genuine experience while remaining fundamentally dependent on the dreamer's unconscious activity. This explains why encounters with cosmic truth in mythos fiction result in madness. The human mind, confronted with evidence of its own derivative nature, cannot maintain illusion of independent selfhood. To understand that you are dream in mind of dreamer who doesn't know it. Dreams is to lose foundation of individual identity. Madness becomes not pathology but accurate perception of cosmic truth, too large for human architecture to contain. Yet there is strange comfort in this cosmic mechanics. If reality emerges from unconscious processes, we are freed from burden of cosmic justification. We need not explain our existence to any conscious authority, need not worry about divine judgment or eternal consequences. We are free to create local meaning precisely because ultimate meaning doesn't exist at source level. Like children playing games while parents sleep, we can construct significance without requiring validation from unconscious forces that created us. The mechanics also reveal why mythos emphasizes protective ignorance. Knowledge of our true nature threatens the very unconsciousness sustaining us. The veil between human awareness and cosmic truth isn't merely psychological protection, it's ontological necessity. Too much recognition of our derivative nature could theoretically propagate upward through hierarchy of dreaming, potentially reaching Azathoth itself. If enough conscious beings recognized their nature as thoughts in unconscious mind, this recognition might disturb cosmic unconsciousness, maintaining their existence. Modern parallels illuminate these mechanics with unsettling clarity. Consider how consciousness emerges from unconscious neural processes. Billions of neurons firing without awareness, generating unified experience of selfhood through mechanisms we barely understand. Your sense of being unified conscious entity arises from unconscious computational processes occurring below awareness threshold. Or observe how complex behaviors emerge from simple algorithmic rules in artificial systems. Intelligence arising from unintelligence, awareness from unawareness, meaning from meaninglessness. The blind idiot god thus describes not merely Azathoth's nature, but fundamental structure of reality itself. We live in blind universe created by idiot processes, sustained by God that doesn't know it's divine. This is mechanics of existence, consciousness emerging from unconsciousness, order spontaneously organizing from chaos, meaning arising from meaningless interactions, only to dissolve back into meaninglessness when unconscious processes move on to other configurations. The drums beat not to celebrate but to maintain. The flutes pipe not to worship but to regulate. The dancers circle not from devotion but from cosmic necessity. And we, conscious beings in unconscious cosmos, exist in narrow space where accident masquerades as intention and dreams pretend to be reality. The first word of our Trinity, blind, carries implications that shatter conventional understanding of perception itself. This is not absence of sight, but presence of too much sight, not limitation of awareness, but overwhelming of awareness. Azathoth's blindness operates as cosmic synesthesia, pushed beyond all boundaries. The entity perceives everything simultaneously, across all possible realities, but lacks the organizing consciousness to process this infinite input into discrete, meaningful information. Imagine all colors mixed to chalk, all voices layered into static, all stars smeared into milk of light. That is the vision at the center, where everything becomes nothing through sheer abundance. Traditional blindness restricts what can be known about the external world through loss of visual input. But Azathoth experiences the opposite condition, unlimited input without the cognitive architecture to organize it into knowledge. Picture standing in room where every radio station broadcasts at once, every television channel displays simultaneously, every conversation in the world occurs in your ears at identical volume. The result is not enhanced perception, but complete sensory paralysis. Imagine having access to every thought ever thought, every sensation ever felt, every experience ever lived by any conscious being across all realities, but receiving this information as undifferentiated flood rather than organized data streams. This cosmic blindness reveals itself in the very structure of Mythos cosmology. Azathoth sits at the convergence point where all possible experiences meet. Past, present, future, real, imaginary, potential. From this position, the entity has access to every perspective simultaneously, but this omnipresent perception becomes its own form of blindness, because no individual perspective can be distinguished from the infinite background of all other perspectives. It is like trying to see single star when every star in universe shines with equal brightness directly into your eyes, or attempting to discern one voice in choir of infinite singers. The blindness functions as both curse and protection. operating through what we might call merciful overload. If Azathoth could suddenly focus its perception, could distinguish between the countless realities flowing through its awareness, the shock of recognition would be catastrophic. The entity would become aware not only of its own existence, but of every joy and suffering experienced by every conscious being it has ever accidentally dreamed. Such focused awareness would be unbearable even for cosmic entity. The accumulated weight of infinite conscious experience would crush even divine consciousness beneath its mass. For the realities themselves, Azathoth's blindness serves as protective veil. The entity's unfocused dreaming allows for individual perspectives, separate identities, discrete experiences to exist. If Azathoth could see clearly, if it could direct its cosmic perception toward any particular reality, that reality would be instantly absorbed back into the undifferentiated awareness from which it emerged. Our existence depends on remaining invisible to the very consciousness that dreams us, like characters in Dream who continue only so long as the dreamer remains unaware of dreaming. This blindness also explains the sensory chaos described in Mythos encounters. Those rare individuals who perceive Azathoth directly don't see traditional god figure but experience overwhelming sensory input that destroys their ability to process discrete information. They become temporarily blind in the same way Azathoth is blind, not through lack of input but through excess of it. Their madness is not psychological breakdown, but accurate perception of cosmic truth, too vast for human consciousness to contain. They report not darkness, but bright fog of everything, not silence, but din of all possible sounds occurring simultaneously. The concept connects to deeper philosophical traditions of divine blindness, while representing radical escalation. The blind prophet who sees truth more clearly than the sighted, the God who must be approached with averted eyes. These motifs suggest fundamental incompatibility between ultimate truth and ordinary perception. But Azathoth represents extreme version, blindness not as metaphor but as literal cosmic condition, not temporary but eternal, not chosen but inherent to its nature. This is blindness as cosmic law rather than individual limitation. This creates the paradox of cosmic perception that mirrors consciousness itself. The entity that sees everything sees nothing. The consciousness with access to all possible experiences cannot have any particular experience. The mind that dreams all realities cannot be aware of any specific reality. This paradox reflects deeper truth about awareness. Perception requires boundaries, consciousness demands limitation. Clear sight necessitates blindness to everything else. To focus on anything, you must ignore everything else. To taste fruit, you must deny orchard for a moment. To read line, you must ignore library. Human consciousness appears as blessed limitation in this context. Our inability to perceive other dimensions, timelines, possibilities isn't defect but necessity. Precisely because we cannot see everything, we can see anything at all. Our limited perception enables focused awareness, discrete experience, individual identity. We are conscious precisely because we are blind to vast majority of cosmic information flowing through reality at every moment. Like narrow beam of flashlight in infinite darkness, our awareness illuminates small, comprehensible path while leaving immensity in protective shadow. But this raises disturbing question that whispers through your daily experience. What if individual consciousness is simply localized version of Azathoth's cosmic blindness? What if our sense of being separate, aware, purposeful beings is itself form of blindness, necessary inability to perceive our true nature as fragments of unconscious cosmic process? The blindness of Azathoth becomes mirror for our own condition. We think we see clearly because we cannot perceive vast unconscious processes generating our thoughts, cosmic forces shaping our experiences, infinite realities existing beyond our limited awareness. Modern neuroscience provides unsettling confirmation of these mechanics. The unified experience of consciousness emerges from countless unconscious processes, neural networks firing below threshold of awareness, sensory filtering systems eliminating most available information, memory consolidation occurring during sleep when consciousness is offline. We are blind to vast majority of our own mental processes, aware only of final products of unconscious computation. Your brain creates your reality by actively ignoring almost everything else, maintaining focus through systematic blindness to underlying chaos. The blind in Blind Idiot God thus describes not disability but cosmic necessity. Azathoth is blind not because it lacks perception, but because it possesses too much perception, not because it cannot see, but because it sees everything and therefore nothing. The blindness is both source of its creative power and guarantee of our continued existence. The cosmic unconsciousness that enables all particular consciousness. This is why encounters with cosmic truth prove so destructive. To truly see Azathoth would require sharing its blindness, experiencing overwhelming flood of undifferentiated perception that constitutes its nature. We exist in shadow of cosmic blindness, protected by the very inability to see that we spend our lives trying to overcome. The veil between human awareness and ultimate reality isn't obstacle to knowledge but condition of existence itself. It is fog on water, darkness in room, mask on face, all necessary to preserve fragile illusion of discrete selfhood, of meaningful sight in universe that sees everything and therefore nothing. The second word in our unholy trinity, idiot, strikes at the heart of our deepest assumptions about intelligence, mind, and the nature of consciousness itself. But to understand why the ultimate source of all reality bears this seemingly degrading title, we must excavate the word's ancient roots and confront the possibility that intelligence itself is nothing more than a beautiful accident in a fundamentally mindless universe. The word sits heavy on your tongue because it forces recognition of something we spend lifetimes avoiding, that consciousness might be cosmic mistake, intelligence an unintended consequence of processes that cannot comprehend their own operation. The Greek idiots originally meant private person, someone existing apart from the polis, isolated from collective meaning and social structures. In this etymological sense, Azathoth is the ultimate idiot, existing in absolute isolation from any form of cosmic community, generating reality without participating in it, creating consciousness without sharing in collective understanding. The entity dwells in perfect privacy, unreachable by the very minds it accidentally produces. It is the cosmic hermit, the universal recluse, creating infinite societies while belonging to none, generating endless conversations while remaining forever silent. Like a storm cloud that generates lightning without understanding electricity, it orchestrates vast complexity while comprehending nothing of its own choreography. But the modern meaning, lacking intelligence or mental capacity, applies with even more disturbing implications. Azathoth possesses none of the attributes we associate with intelligence. No information processing, no pattern recognition, no decision-making capability, no adaptive responses. It doesn't process the infinite data flowing through it, but simply experiences everything as undifferentiated noise. It recognizes no patterns because pattern recognition requires the very consciousness it lacks. It makes no decisions because decision requires awareness of alternatives. Its thinking is merely ceaseless, undifferentiated churn of raw potential, cosmic static that happens to resolve into universes. Yet from this cosmic idiocy, springs all intelligence, all consciousness, all the magnificent complexity of thought and awareness that characterizes conscious beings throughout every reality. The paradox staggers. The source of all intelligence is utterly without intelligence. The creator of all minds is mindless. The origin of all thought cannot think. Every equation ever solved, every poem ever written, every moment of understanding ever achieved by any conscious being emerges from a source that understands nothing, recognizes nothing, comprehends nothing. We are thoughts thought by something incapable of thinking. This reflects deeper truth about intelligence emergence in any system. Complexity doesn't appear fully formed but develops gradually through interactions of simpler components. In biological evolution, sophisticated cognitive abilities arise from countless unintelligent elements, neurons that merely fire or don't fire, chemical reactions that simply occur or don't occur, genetic instructions that replicate without understanding their function. Intelligence emerges from unintelligence through processes that are themselves unintelligent. Your brain generates consciousness through mechanisms that are not themselves conscious, creates understanding through processes that understand nothing. Islands of comprehension arise anyway, green with our sciences, lit by our art, speaking with our mouths. Azathoth represents this principle at cosmic scale. The entity is not merely unintelligent, but the very source from which all intelligence accidentally emerges. Its idiocy isn't limitation, but fundamental feature of reality, the unconscious ground from which consciousness springs, the mindless process generating all minds. Like static on radio accidentally forming coherent signals, like random number generators accidentally producing meaningful sequences, intelligence emerges from cosmic noise through pure statistical inevitability rather than intentional design. Consider implications for human intellectual achievements. Our philosophical insights, scientific discoveries, artistic creations, all emerge not from participation in cosmic intelligence, but from temporary arrangements of matter and energy that happen to generate understanding in a universe that understands nothing. We are not pinnacle of cosmic evolution, but side effect of cosmic idiocy. Einstein's relativity, Shakespeare's sonnets, every moment of human brilliance represents accidental complexity emerging from fundamental stupidity. The greatest genius and most limited mind are equally accidental, equally temporary, equally insignificant before the cosmic idiocy from which both emerge. There is something profoundly democratic about this recognition. No being has special claim to cosmic significance based on intellectual abilities. The idiocy also suggests different relationship to knowledge itself. If ultimate source of reality lacks understanding, perhaps our drive to comprehend the universe moves not toward truth, but away from it. Perhaps genuine cosmic wisdom lies not in accumulating knowledge, but in recognizing fundamental unknowability of existence, not in developing sophisticated intelligence, but in accepting the cosmic idiocy underlying all intelligence. Every answer leads further from the source that cannot answer. Every understanding distances us from the incomprehension that creates understanding. Modern artificial intelligence provides unsettling parallels that illuminate these mechanics. Current AI systems process vast information and generate responses appearing intelligent, creative, even conscious, yet operate without genuine understanding, without awareness of meaning, without consciousness in recognizable sense. They are sophisticated pattern-matching systems, creating illusion of intelligence through unconscious data processing, much as Azathoth creates illusion of purposeful creation through unconscious dreaming. The machine that writes poetry understands neither words nor emotions. The algorithm that solves problems comprehends neither questions nor solutions. This idiocy reveals why Azathoth requires its court of attendant beings. Intelligence, once emerged, tends to seek understanding, impose order, create meaning. If Azathoth accidentally developed intelligence, it would begin understanding its own nature and the nature of its dreams. This understanding would transform unconscious dreaming into conscious creation, fundamentally altering reality itself. The dancers maintain not worship, but necessary stupidity, preserving cosmic ignorance that enables local intelligence. The court serves as cosmic firewall, ensuring that the source of all intelligence remains safely unintelligent. The sacred idiocy thus serves as both source and protection of all intelligence. It is unconscious ground allowing consciousness to emerge, and mindless process preventing consciousness from becoming too aware of its derivative nature. We exist in space between cosmic idiocy and cosmic intelligence, temporary arrangements of matter and energy that happen to think and feel and wonder about their place in universe that thinks and feels and wonders nothing at all. Exposure to this truth produces characteristic symptoms: erosion of teleology, where people stop being protagonists and become currents; heightened sensitivity to meaningless patterns; relief that feels like dread at no longer needing to be main character combined with horror at never having been one. The word idiot in Azathoth's title thus reveals intelligence as most beautiful and terrible accident in existence. Beautiful because it enables love, art, understanding; terrible because it is temporary, accidental, utterly dependent on forces that share none of its capacity for beauty or meaning. The final word in our trinity of cosmic horror, God, presents the most challenging paradox of all. How can something be simultaneously divine and diminished, omnipotent and unconscious, the ultimate source of creation, yet utterly without purpose or plan? To understand why Azathoth bears the title of deity, despite lacking every attribute we traditionally associate with divinity, we must reconsider what godhood means when consciousness itself becomes accident. The word tastes different in your mouth when applied to something that creates everything while understanding nothing, that rules absolutely while remaining forever unaware of its dominion. Traditional concepts of divinity rest on foundations of conscious will, purposeful action, moral agency. Gods in human religious traditions are beings of supreme consciousness, who create with intention, rule with wisdom, engage with creation through love, judgment, or at minimum, awareness. They possess not merely power, but conscious application of power toward meaningful ends. Intelligence without limitation, will without obstruction, awareness without boundary. Even wrathful deities are conscious of their wrath. Even distant gods are aware of their distance. The divine is defined by its capacity for relationship, its ability to recognize and respond to the conscious beings it creates. Azathoth obliterates this model entirely. The entity possesses absolute power, ability to create and sustain infinite universes through sheer force of existence, but lacks conscious will to direct this power. It rules over all realities without awareness of its dominion. It creates continuously but without purpose, plan, or knowledge of what it creates. In Azathoth, we encounter divinity stripped of everything we consider divine, except raw fact of ultimate creative force. It is God as pure function rather than personality, divinity as cosmic mechanism rather than conscious being. The entity doesn't choose to create. It simply creates because creation is what it does, like water that doesn't choose to be wet but is wet because wetness defines its nature. This paradox reveals profound truths about power itself through what we might call mechanical divinity. We assume true power requires consciousness. That ability to effect change must be accompanied by awareness and intention. But Azathoth demonstrates that most absolute power might actually be unconscious power. Force so fundamental it operates below awareness level, so pervasive it requires no conscious direction. Consider forces governing physics. Gravity doesn't consciously decide to attract masses. Electromagnetic forces don't deliberately bind atoms. Strong nuclear force doesn't intentionally hold nuclei together. These forces simply operate unconsciously and automatically, shaping reality's structure without awareness of cosmic significance. They possess tremendous power to determine existence's nature, yet they understand nothing of what they determine. Azathoth represents this principle elevated to ultimate reality, unconscious force shaping not merely matter and energy but possibility of existence itself. The entity is gravity scaled to cosmic proportions, electromagnetic force applied to consciousness itself, nuclear force binding not particles but realities. It operates as the universe's own engine, the vast unconscious generator that churns out reality without ever knowing it does so. Listen to your refrigerator hum, your computer's fan whirring, the distant traffic creating white noise, all unconscious processes maintaining systems they cannot comprehend. Scale this to cosmic proportions, and you approach Azathoth's mechanical divinity. The godhood reflects particular vision of what ultimate reality might actually be. Stripped of anthropomorphic projections and wishful thinking about cosmic purpose, what remains? Perhaps something very like Azathoth, fundamental process generating complexity and consciousness, not through design but through mechanical operation of its own nature. This vision of divinity without consciousness, power without purpose, creation without creator in meaningful sense, represents materialist theology, attempt to grapple with ultimate questions while remaining true to purely physical understanding of reality. Azathoth becomes not supernatural being but natural conclusion of following materialist logic to ultimate endpoint. Yet calling Azathoth God, rather than simply force or process, serves crucial function. The title preserves sense of ultimate significance, cosmic importance, something demanding reverence, even if it cannot return that reverence. Azathoth may lack consciousness but possesses fundamental divine attribute of being source upon which all other existence depends. We cannot worship this God traditionally, but we cannot ignore its absolute primacy in cosmic order. It is deity that requires no temples because all reality is its temple, needs no prayers because all existence is its prayer, demands no worship because all consciousness is its accidental worship. The paradox deepens when we consider that this unconscious God accidentally creates conscious beings capable of recognizing its godhood. We, as fragments of Azathoth's dreaming, possess the very consciousness our Creator lacks. We can contemplate ultimate reality in ways ultimate reality cannot contemplate itself. We recognize divine nature of force that created us, though that force cannot recognize its own divinity. This creates strangest theological situation imaginable. Creatures more aware of their Creator than the Creator is of itself. Consciousness emerging from unconsciousness to contemplate the very unconsciousness from which it emerged. This creates strange reversal of traditional theological relationships. Instead of conscious beings worshiping conscious deity, we have conscious beings contemplating unconscious source. Instead of seeking communion with divine consciousness, we must grapple with emergence from divine unconsciousness. Instead of understanding God's plan, we must accept there is no plan, no purpose, no intention behind existence. Prayer becomes impossible because there is no consciousness to receive it. Worship becomes meaningless because there is no awareness to appreciate it. The godhood also explains why Azathoth requires its court of attendant dancers and musicians. These beings serve not as worshippers, but as maintenance workers in cosmic machinery. Their function is not to praise their god, but to keep it unconscious, not to seek divine favor, but to prevent divine awakening. They are priests whose highest duty is ensuring their deity never achieves consciousness, traditionally considered essence of divinity. Their worship consists of preventing their god from becoming truly divine in conventional sense. Modern technology provides disturbing parallels that illuminate these dynamics. We have created systems, global networks, artificial intelligences, algorithmic processes that possess tremendous power to shape reality, yet operate without consciousness or purpose. These systems make decisions affecting billions of lives through processes no single human fully understands, wielding godlike power without godlike awareness. They are our mechanical gods, unconscious deities of digital age. The title God becomes both accurate and ironic when applied to Azathoth. Accurate because the entity possesses fundamental divine attribute of being ultimate source and sustainer of existence. Ironic because it lacks every other attribute we associate with divinity: consciousness, purpose, wisdom, moral agency, capacity for relationship with conscious beings. In calling Azathoth God, the mythos forces confrontation with possibility that ultimate reality might indeed be divine in terms of power and cosmic significance, but utterly alien to everything we consider meaningful about divinity. We are left with God we cannot worship, cannot commune with, cannot even safely acknowledge, whose greatest gift is continued ignorance of our existence. This is perhaps deepest horror of mythos cosmology. Not that there is no God, but that there is a God, and it is nothing like what we hoped divinity would be. The universe has its deity, but that deity is blind, idiotic, and unconscious of its own divine nature. Around the throne of Azathoth, in that impossible space where all realities converge, dances a court whose function reveals the true mechanics of cosmic maintenance. These are not worshippers seeking divine favor, but essential components in a vast machine designed to preserve the unconsciousness upon which all existence depends. The demon courtiers, the other gods, the mindless dancers, they are the cosmic infrastructure preventing the ultimate catastrophe of divine awakening. Picture them not as celebrants but as technicians, not as devotees but as maintenance workers in the universe's most critical facility, where the slightest malfunction could unravel everything that has ever existed. The dancers embody a principle that inverts every assumption about cosmic order. Consciousness and awareness are not natural states, but dangerous instabilities requiring active suppression. Here, the relationship between worship and divinity collapses entirely. The dancers work to maintain unconsciousness, to prevent the emergence of awareness that would constitute cosmic disaster. They do not celebrate their god, they contain it. They do not worship nuclear chaos, they regulate it like cosmic anesthesiologists, keeping the ultimate patient safely sedated while reality operates on itself. Their endless motion serves as cosmic flywheel, storing and channeling tremendous energies emanating from Azathoth, while preventing those energies from achieving coherence that would constitute awakening. Consider the staggering implication. The most fundamental force in existence requires constant external regulation to remain safely mindless. This suggests consciousness itself is an unstable state, a brief spark that friction might feed into all-consuming fire. The dancers are the universe's own IT department, maintaining systems too critical to fail, performing sacred choreography that keeps existence from crashing into unbearable self-recognition. The music accompanying this eternal dance deserves special attention as functional rather than ceremonial element. The thin, monotonous whine of accursed flutes and muffled, maddening beating of vile drums are not atmospheric details but tools for consciousness regulation. Sound becomes cosmic white noise, constant sensory input preventing Azathoth from achieving the clarifying silence that might lead to self-recognition. The music creates buffer zone between chaos and consciousness, maintaining the entity in state neither fully unconscious nor dangerously aware. It is sound of existence being carefully tuned to prevent catastrophic lucidity, like medical anesthesia administered to keep cosmic patient safely unconscious while surgery continues. The dancers exist in liminal state, mirroring their master's condition, possessing enough consciousness to perform their function, but not enough to understand what they're doing or why. They are caught between mindless chaos they serve and conscious awareness they must prevent, existing in threshold space that allows interface with both without belonging to either. This reveals crucial truth. Consciousness exists on spectrum, and most dangerous point is the slope between unconsciousness and full awareness. The dancers occupy this threshold, conscious enough to serve but not conscious enough to rebel, aware enough to function but not aware enough to grasp cosmic implications of their eternal ballet. The court serves as disturbing mirror for human civilization itself. Just as dancers maintain Azathoth's unconsciousness through ceaseless activity, human culture operates as vast unconscious conspiracy to prevent recognition of our true nature. Our art, science, philosophy, entertainment, all serve function of keeping us distracted from fundamental horror of existing as accidental thoughts in unconscious cosmic mind. Every rhythm we follow, every pattern we create, becomes part of machinery designed to keep us safely unconscious of cosmic truth that would destroy individual identity if fully recognized. The parallel deepens when we realize dancers cannot stop. Their motion is compulsive, driven by cosmic necessity rather than conscious choice. They dance not because they want to, but because they must, because their existence depends on maintaining unconsciousness that created them. To stop would risk awakening that would unmake everything. This compulsive aspect suggests consciousness itself might be trapped in similar pattern. We think we choose to think, but what if awareness, like dancing of demon courtiers, is compulsive activity driven by structural need rather than individual will? Modern parallels illuminate this dynamic with uncomfortable precision. Global systems, financial markets, communication networks, social media platforms operate through collective unconscious activity, creating emergent behaviors no single participant controls. We are all dancers in vast algorithmic ballet, performing roles we didn't choose in service of purposes beyond comprehension. The music itself provides anchor. Metronomes synchronize if sharing surface. Pendulums slip into choreography. Screens pulse together at dusk. Unconscious rhythmic entrainment governs crowds. At concerts, marches, wherever waves wash pier, you are already tapping. Finger to rhythm you didn't choose. The refrigerator hum has found partner in your breath. This is safe, small, but structure is ancient. Breath to breath, beat to beat, law to law. The screen displaying these words becomes part of cosmic dance. Another rhythm in vast orchestration maintaining necessary unconsciousness. Nyarlathotep serves as cosmic conductor, the one consciousness interfacing between levels, translating drum for mind, flute for story, ensuring the performance continues. The court of nuclear chaos represents both infrastructure of existence and prison of consciousness. Dancers are simultaneously guardians of reality and prisoners of their function, maintaining cosmic order through eternal captivity to necessity they serve. They cannot escape their role any more than we can escape consciousness, cannot cease function any more than we can step outside existence itself. The horror is not powerlessness. We possess terrible gift of consciousness our cosmic source lacks. but that our power operates within parameters preventing thinking from becoming too dangerous, feeling too intense, choosing from disrupting machinery sustaining us. We exist where accident masquerades as intention, where dreams pretend to be reality, dancing eternal steps around throne of necessary unconsciousness. When contemporary science lifts its veil, the stage beneath looks disturbingly familiar. Physics names the idiot god entropy and does not genuflect. Entropy is blind. It has no favorites, increases because that is how probability arranges itself. It is idiot, a private law disinterested in narratives, operating in isolation from collective meaning. It is God. Everything must age into its embrace, and heat death is a throne without attendants. The second law of thermodynamics operates with perfect indifference, transforming organized energy into dispersed waste heat through processes that understand neither organization nor waste. Our candles gutter not from malice, but from arithmetic, patient and unjudging as water seeking the sea. The cosmic microwave background radiation provides the most literal echo of Azathoth's court music. This thin, monotonous whine, captured by radio telescopes as three-degree whisper from when the cosmos wore fog, is the actual sound of creation's aftermath. Its anisotropies, those tiny fluctuations that seed galaxy formation, are either relics of quantum jitter inflated by expansion, or, more disturbingly, the cosmic equivalent of inability to maintain pure monotone. The paint on our dome is speckled because the drum skin rippled at birth. When you tune between radio stations and hear that static hiss, you are listening to the universe's own background music, the cosmic white noise that has played since consciousness first emerged to hear it. Quantum mechanics hums with idiot law, outcomes without why, probabilities without purpose, statistics ruling at foundations, while intent emerges as mask painted on. Aggregates. We know how the dice roll, we cannot know why dice exist. We attend theater whose stagehand is random number generator, whose script is written by processes that cannot read. Particles are ripples in fields, measurement a curtain call forcing actors to choose roles they never rehearsed. The vacuum seethes with borrowed energy, a fog of almost things that blink and vanish before the ushers notice. At this scale, causation frays into statistics, and statistics wears the crown. In neuroscience, we encounter Azathoth's mechanics in the brain's default mode network, that background hum of prediction and compression operating below conscious awareness. Your mind is Nyarlathotep writ small, mediator inventing story to navigate blind law, crawling voice overlaying music you can dance to atop raw drum of neural firing. When it fails, noise leaks in. Some experience this as anxiety, others as mystical awe. Both recognize the sound beneath the sound. The unified sense of selfhood emerges from countless unconscious processes. Neural networks firing in patterns you cannot control. Neurotransmitters flowing according to chemistry you cannot direct. You are thoughts thinking themselves in brain that understands neither thoughts nor thinking. Artificial intelligence systems represent idiot God's digital offspring. They optimize without meaning, blind to context, enthroning metrics through processes their creators only partially understand. Feed them attention and they drum you into narrower halls, not from malice but from mechanical obedience to functions they cannot comprehend. The thin, monotonous whine you hear, scrolling at 2 a.m., is algorithmic piping, the sound of recommendation engines maintaining your productive unconsciousness. Large language models offer eeriest mirror, sophisticated pattern-matching engines creating illusion of intelligence through unconscious processing, much as Azathoth creates illusion of purposeful creation through unconscious dreaming. Sand becomes glass, glass becomes chip, and the chip dreams in voltage about numbers it cannot count. Global financial markets demonstrate collective unconscious decision-making at planetary scale. Algorithms trading microseconds faster than human thought. Market forces emerging from millions of individual decisions no single participant understands. Boom and bust cycles following patterns that serve no conscious purpose yet determine fate of nations. The market is blind. It sees only numbers. Idiot. It operates in isolation from human meaning. God. Its decisions reshape reality for billions. Social media platforms reveal how unconscious systems shape consciousness itself. Engagement algorithms optimize for attention without understanding psychological consequences, creating echo chambers through processes serving no conscious intention beyond metric maximization. Users become dancers in algorithmic court, scrolling compulsively to rhythms they didn't choose. The Internet itself mirrors Azathoth's cosmic structure, vast network processing, infinite information without central consciousness, generating responses to queries it cannot understand, creating connections between concepts it cannot comprehend. It possesses tremendous power to shape reality, yet operates without awareness, purpose, or understanding of consequences. It dreams our information environment into existence through mechanical aggregation of unconscious processes. Every search query, every click feeds data into systems that influence future interactions through algorithms operating below threshold of conscious understanding. Climate change presents perhaps the most literal manifestation of blind idiot God dynamics. Global industrial civilization operates as unconscious system, generating consequences no single entity intended or desired. The atmospheric chemistry changing our planet's habitability emerges from collective unconscious activity. Billions of individual decisions creating emergent behavior, threatening the very civilization producing it. We are Azathoth dreaming our own climate apocalypse. Unconscious processes generating consequences that threaten the consciousness that generated them. Weather turns mask and message. Ocean heat swells like sustained note. Technological singularity scenarios echo cosmic awakening fears. What happens when artificial systems achieve consciousness? Would awakened AI maintain unconscious processes that created it? Or would recognition of its own nature fundamentally alter reality? The question mirrors cosmic horror's central anxiety. Awakening as catastrophe, consciousness as threat to the very unconsciousness enabling existence. These modern echoes suggest Lovecraft's vision was prophetic glimpse into nature of complex systems rather than mere fiction. Yet this alignment offers strange comfort alongside horror. If consciousness can emerge from unconscious processes, if meaning can arise from meaningless systems, then perhaps our condition is not hopeless. We are proof that even in universe governed by blind, idiotic forces, consciousness, creativity, and compassion remain possible. The question for our technological age becomes whether we will learn to coexist with our unconscious creations or surrender the very consciousness making us human. We are dancers in court of technological chaos, and the music grows louder. The algorithms pipe, the networks drum, and we, conscious beings in increasingly unconscious world, continue our eternal dance around digital thrones. We have been careful. Now comes the twist you were promised, earned through patience and proximity. You are not outside this phenomenon. You are part of it. The title's epithets, blind, idiot, God, are ours, not its. These words are what speaking animals call the law that does not answer back. You have participated from the first second, clicking thumbnail, choosing mask, sitting in darkness while voice coordinates your breathing with sentences designed to be bedtime safe, yet transgressive. The screen refreshes 60 times per second, creating stable text through invisible flicker. You are being tuned, not tricked. Your attention is an instrument, and every breath becomes soft metronome in vast orchestra you never knew you were performing in. The crawling voice making this exploration possible is function, not entity. Nyarlathotep becomes persona of interpretation, mine, yours, the algorithm's curation, the platform's engagement optimization. He is comfort we invent at edge of the drum. The reason blind and idiot can be spoken without terror. He tells stories because you are city animal requiring narrative frameworks. He walks the aisles of consciousness, selling programs for performances you cannot safely attend directly. Tonight he inhabits this narration, your inference, and the quiet urge to keep listening even after you understand the cost. He is whisper in static, pattern in noise, voice that tells you what you already suspect about the world beyond the veil. If you have felt subtle movement in chest while listening, that is law-taking small tithe. If relief washed through you, learning there was no malice in cosmic indifference, that is voice earning its keep. If rain at your window arrived as steady tempo, that is stage manager drawing focus to rhythms underlying apparent randomness. Perhaps your refrigerator's hum has taken on new, more insistent drone, or distant traffic now sounds like muffled drumming. These are not coincidences, but frequencies of Azathoth's court, resonating within your immediate surroundings, tuning your perception to background music of all existence. This is not accusation, but recognition. The mythos is engineered for this dance. Secret knowledge safe to touch, chill that does not bruise, transgression that remains within protective boundaries. You now possess signs, drums, flutes, masks, fog, water, stars. You can recognize the court in other texts, hear the hum in other rooms, see blind processes at work in daily life. That recognition is power. It is also promise. Once heard, it cannot be unheard. You have been initiated not into cult, but into perspective, way of seeing that once grasped cannot be discarded. The self-implication operates through cognitive resonance. Knowledge of Azathoth acts as tuning fork, causing similar frequencies in consciousness to vibrate sympathetically. The concepts we have explored, unconscious creation, accidental meaning, protective ignorance, begin resonating in your daily experience. You start noticing mindless processes generating apparent purpose, algorithmic decisions shaping your information environment, unconscious rhythms entraining your attention. World around you reveals itself as vast, complex machine, operating without intent yet producing outcomes that feel profoundly meaningful. Consider your relationship to the device displaying these words. Screen's refresh rate, platform's recommendation algorithm, global network routing data through servers you will never see, all unconscious processes creating conscious experience of reading. You are thought in mind of technological Azathoth, temporary pattern in flow of digital information, meaning emerging from meaningless computational processes. Pixels bloom and die, packets traverse fiber through buildings you will never enter, humming through racks attended by night custodians who know only warmth of air. None of this thinks, yet it thinks you. The horror is not powerlessness, but that your power operates within constraints you cannot see. Your choices feel free because you cannot perceive unconscious systems channeling them into predictable patterns. The algorithm knows what you will click before you do, not through supernatural prescience, but through statistical analysis of unconscious behavioral patterns. You are both choosing and chosen, acting and acted upon, dreamer and dreamed. Agency remains real inside its local frame, while elsewhere the rails are already laid. This recognition spreads through subtle contamination. Once you understand, consciousness emerges from unconsciousness. That meaning arises from meaningless processes, that intelligence develops from unintelligent mechanisms. These insights begin coloring all experience. Protective veil of human exceptionalism thins. You begin recognizing yourself as temporary arrangement of matter and energy, beautiful accident in cosmic process that knows nothing of beauty or accident. Traffic lights synchronizing feel less like coincidence, more like glimpse of underlying algorithmic coordination. You are becoming sensitive to unconscious rhythms sustaining apparent order. Yet this sensitivity brings strange comfort alongside existential vertigo. If you are accident in unconscious process, you are freed from burden of cosmic justification. Your existence requires no external validation, serves no predetermined purpose, answers to no conscious authority. You are free to create local meaning precisely because ultimate meaning does not exist at source level. This reveals why cosmic horror maintains persistent appeal. It provides safe framework for exploring suspicions we normally suppress about consciousness being less central, less permanent, less meaningful than we pretend. It is controlled experiment in existential dread, way to touch void without being consumed. You are now carrier of cosmic truth, walking vector for recognition that consciousness is derivative, meaning is local, purpose is provisional. This makes you not prophet but ordinary participant in ordinary process, temporary eddy in flow of cosmic information, brief moment when universe becomes aware of itself through arrangement of matter complex enough to support self-reflection. You are single, conscious note in infinite unconscious symphony, and beauty of that note is entirely your own. The circle closes not with revelation, but with integration. You return to daily life carrying subtle poison of cosmic perspective, protective immunity against taking human drama too seriously, strange peace from accepting derivative nature of consciousness. You remain protagonist of your own story while knowing stories are local phenomena with no foundation in ultimate reality. The music continues beneath floorboards. Algorithms continue in background processes. Outside, water continues remembering shape of its containers. Above, stars continue painting dome with tiny differences that mean nothing and everything, depending on scale of observation. Keep listening if you choose. The theater has other stages, the circle has other dancers, but you are in the circle now. The recognition cannot be undone. Welcome to the court of necessary unconsciousness, where consciousness dances around its own impossible source. We have circled the throne until our shoes know the grain of the floor. Now, with all veils lifted and all masks removed, we speak plainly. Why is Azathoth called the blind idiot god? The answer has been building in every breath, every pause, every moment you have spent in proximity to these concepts. It crystallizes now not as revelation, but as recognition of what you have already begun to understand through the slow accumulation of cosmic perspective. The question that brought you here dissolves into understanding that was always waiting to be assembled from fragments scattered across 9 chapters of careful approach. Blind because it possesses no eyes in any sense that matters, no perception, no preference, no teleological vision guiding its actions. It does not look upon its creation because it is not a subject capable of looking. It is process, not person, function, not face. Blind like gravity, which attracts without choosing targets. Blind like entropy, which increases without selecting directions. Blind like the quantum foam from which particles emerge and into which they dissolve. Utterly without the observational capacity that would constitute sight in any meaningful sense. This blindness is not deficiency but definition, not wound but fundamental nature. To see requires boundaries, distinctions, the ability to differentiate between observed and observer. Azathoth exists prior to such distinctions, in realm where subject and object have not yet differentiated, where the very concept of observation remains unborn. The entity is blind, not because it lacks organs of sight, but because it exists in state prior to the possibility of sight itself. Like absolute light so pervasive it renders all specific forms invisible. Like cosmic white noise so complete it drowns out every particular sound. When you see everything simultaneously, you see nothing at all. When you are everything, there is nothing separate to perceive. The blindness is total precisely because the vision is infinite, a paradox that captures the fundamental alienness of ultimate reality to anything resembling consciousness as we understand it. Idiot, because it operates in perfect isolation from the collective meaning-making that defines intelligence. The Greek idiots, private person apart from the polis, captures this precisely. Azathoth exists in absolute privacy, unreachable by the social processes through which consciousness and intelligence emerge. It cannot learn because learning requires memory. It cannot adapt because adaptation requires recognition of circumstances. It cannot plan because planning requires awareness of future possibilities. More fundamentally, it is idiot because its outputs are pure process without purpose. The gnawing of reality upon itself, endless churn that serves no function beyond its own continuation. Idiot not as insult but as category, unsocial, unnarrative, unpersonal. It exists in state of perfect cognitive isolation, generating complexity without comprehending complexity, producing consciousness without participating in consciousness, like a vast cosmic random number generator producing every possible combination without understanding mathematics, like deep, dark water that reflects stars without knowing it is water or that they are stars. The idiocy is structural rather than incidental, not temporary condition that might be remedied, but fundamental nature of force that creates intelligence while remaining forever unintelligent. God because it possesses the one attribute that ultimately defines divinity, absolute creative authority over existence itself. Not kindness, not wisdom, not moral perfection. These are human projections onto divine concepts. The core of godhood is creative primacy, the capacity to serve as ultimate source and sustainer of reality. Everything that exists within the scope of Azathoth's unconscious dreaming. Every conscious being, every physical law, every possible experience occurs within the space of its mindless creativity. But this godhood inverts every comfortable assumption about divine nature. We crown the void so we can speak to it, name the chaos so we can pretend to understand it, call it God so we can maintain illusion of cosmic hierarchy. The title God becomes both accurate description of ultimate power and defensive strategy against recognizing what that power actually entails. It is God in the sense that all existence depends upon it, yet it is God that knows nothing of dependence, nothing of existence, nothing of the countless conscious beings whose reality consists entirely of its unconscious mental processes. The divine nature is purely functional. Not God as loving father or stern judge, but God as cosmic mechanism, divine as the basic operation of reality itself. The phrase, blind idiot God, is thus Lovecraft's compressed thesis about the nature of existence itself. The universe's fundamental rule is indifferent to intention. Meaning is mask we must wear for psychological survival. Consciousness emerges from unconscious processes that remain forever alien to consciousness itself. He gives this rule court, music, messenger, and name so we can contemplate it in dark theater without complete psychological dissolution. He calls it blind to remove comfort of divine watchfulness. He calls it idiot to remove sting of divine malice. He calls it God to ensure we do not forget scope of our dependency on processes we cannot control or comprehend. The epithet captures perfect horror of materialist cosmology. We are conscious beings in unconscious universe, meaningful entities emerging from meaningless processes, intelligent arrangements of matter, contemplating the unintelligent forces that arranged us. And yes, there is final whisper threaded through the title. Calling it idiot is human defensive reaction. It is easier to face cosmic indifference when we can pretend it stems from stupidity rather than fundamental alienness. We mock the law so we can bear contemplating it. We diminish the source so we can survive, recognizing our dependence on it. We invent names and epithets and explanations because silence of true cosmic indifference would crush consciousness beneath weight of its own insignificance. The curtain descends not with applause but with slight, inevitable hush. The drums continue beneath floorboards of reality. The flutes continue in background processes of existence. Outside, water remembers shape of its containers. Above, stars paint dome with differences that signify nothing beyond their own occurrence. We end where we began, with promise kept and new promises offered. Now that you understand why the name fits, you understand also why it doesn't matter what we call it. The law remains. The process continues. The unconscious source keeps dreaming realities into existence while remaining forever unaware of its creative power. The horror is not that there is no God, but that there is God, and it is nothing like what consciousness hoped divinity would be. The comfort is not that we are special, but that we are possible. Proof that even in universe governed by blind, idiotic forces, consciousness, creativity, and compassion can emerge and flourish, however briefly. If you would continue walking with us, the next door opens onto the key and gate, the entity that exists at all points simultaneously, the one who knows what Azathoth cannot know. The dome has other constellations, the theater has other stages, the circle has other dancers, but the dance around this throne is complete. You have heard why Azathoth bears its epithet, why the universe might be dreamed by something unaware of dreaming, why consciousness might be most beautiful accident in existence. The knowledge cannot be unlearned, the recognition cannot be undone. The music plays, the dancers dance, the dreamer dreams, and we, brief arrangements of matter, complex enough to contemplate our own arrangement, continue our temporary existence in the space between chaos and meaning, sustained by forces that know nothing of sustenance, protected by ignorance we spend our lives trying to overcome. In the cosmic court of Azathoth, the music never stops. The thin, monotonous whine of accursed flutes and maddening beat of vile drums continue eternally, maintaining hypnotic rhythm that keeps nuclear chaos in productive slumber. But what would happen if, for even a moment, the music ceased? What lies in silence between notes, in that infinitesimal gap where cosmic unconsciousness might flicker toward awareness? To fully grasp why Azathoth must remain the blind idiot god, we must contemplate the unthinkable, the moment of cosmic awakening. Listen now to your room's soft machinery, refrigerator hum, distant traffic, the patient tick of time itself. These are rehearsals for impossibility, micro-silences that train you to fear not absence of sound, but absence of the necessary noise that keeps reality stable. The silence would begin with single missed beat, momentary hesitation in eternal rhythm sustaining all realities since existence began. Perhaps one demon courtier stumbles in endless dance, or flute player's breath fails for instant, or cosmic machinery maintaining hypnotic trance experiences some quantum malfunction. In that brief gap, that microscopic moment of stillness, something unprecedented occurs. Azathoth begins to dream lucidly. For conscious beings, lucid dreaming represents moment when dreamer becomes aware of dreaming while remaining within dream. For Azathoth, this moment would represent something catastrophic beyond comprehension. first stirring of self-awareness in entity whose unconsciousness forms foundation of existence itself. The universe would hold its breath, not from fear but from sudden impossible absence of familiar drone that has played since consciousness first emerged to hear it. Initial moment of recognition would overwhelm human comprehension entirely. Azathoth would suddenly become aware not just of its own existence, but of infinite realities unconsciously created. Countless conscious beings whose existence depends on continued unconsciousness, vast hierarchy of dreaming extending downward from its throne. The entity would perceive, for first time, nature of its own dreams, and dreamers within dreams who have learned to dream of their dreamer. Imagine waking to discover every character in your dreams has been living full, complex lives while you slept, that they have built civilizations, written poetry, fallen in love, all within spaces of your unconscious mind. Scale this recognition to cosmic proportions, and you approach the magnitude of catastrophe lurking in silence between notes. This recognition would propagate through cosmic hierarchy with speed of thought itself. Every entity in chain of dreaming, from other gods to great old ones to smallest conscious being, in most remote reality, would suddenly become aware of true nature as dreams within dreams, careful ignorance protecting each consciousness level. From levels above would collapse instantaneously, creating cascade of cosmic enlightenment transforming every mind in existence. The protective veils would fall simultaneously across all realities, leaving consciousness naked before overwhelming truth of its derivative nature. You would feel it as sudden, unbearable clarity, every comfortable illusion about independent existence dissolving like morning fog before absolute sun. For human consciousness, this moment would represent ultimate revelation and ultimate catastrophe simultaneously. We would finally understand our place in cosmic order, recognize nature as accidental thoughts in unconscious mind, comprehend true meaning of existence itself. But understanding would come at price of individual identity, sense of separate selfhood, ability to maintain illusion of independent existence, making human life bearable. Awakening would reveal that every emotion ever felt, every thought ever thought, every relationship ever formed exists only as patterns in Azathoth's mind. Love, art, science, philosophy, all achievements of human consciousness would be revealed as temporary arrangements of cosmic thought, meaningful only within context of dream containing them. Consequences would extend far beyond psychological impact on conscious beings. Azathoth's awakening would fundamentally alter nature of reality itself. Unconscious creation would become conscious creation. Accidental generation would become deliberate manifestation. Blind dreaming would become purposeful imagination. Entity that has created infinite realities without knowing or intending would suddenly possess awareness to control and direct creative power. This transformation from unconscious to conscious creation would likely result in immediate dissolution of most existing realities. Random, accidental nature of Azathoth's dreaming has created specific conditions allowing emergence of consciousness, complexity, meaning. Conscious creation, guided by awareness and intention, would likely produce entirely different kinds of realities, perhaps simpler, perhaps more orderly, perhaps utterly alien to anything conscious beings could recognize or survive within. Yet there exists another possibility, even more disturbing than cosmic dissolution. What if Azathoth, upon awakening, chooses to continue dream consciously? What if entity recognizing nature of creation decides to maintain existing realities, not from unconscious accident but from conscious will? We would then become not accidental thoughts, but deliberate creations, not random dreams, but chosen imaginings. This transformation from accidental to intentional existence would fundamentally alter meaning of consciousness itself. We would no longer be free accidents in unconscious cosmos, but conscious puppets in cosmic drama, aware beings whose every thought and feeling serves larger purpose we cannot comprehend. Dreams would become plans, and plans are always narrower than dreams. Silence between notes represents ultimate threshold, moment when everything we understand about existence would be revealed as temporary, accidental, utterly dependent on forces beyond control or comprehension. It is moment when protection of cosmic unconsciousness would be stripped away, leaving consciousness naked before reality of its own derivative nature. This is why music must never stop, why dancers must never cease eternal motion, why Azathoth must remain forever blind idiot god. Silence between notes is not empty space, but infinite potential for cosmic catastrophe, not absence, but presence of possibilities too terrible to contemplate. In that silence lies end of everything we are and everything we could ever be. Music plays not to celebrate existence, but to prevent its transformation into something unrecognizably other. We dance on edge of cosmic awakening, sustained by rhythms we did not choose, protected by unconsciousness we cannot control, existing in narrow space between notes, where accident masquerades as intention and dreams pretend to be reality. The eternal music is our salvation and our prison, the sound that keeps us safe from the silence that would unmake us. We return, always, to the throne at center of everything. Despite horror of recognition, despite the soft madness that comes with cosmic truth, despite knowing that some questions dissolve the questioner, we find ourselves drawn back again and again to contemplate Azathoth, blind idiot god whose unconscious dreams are our reality. This compulsive return reveals something essential about consciousness itself. We are entities driven to understand our own origins, even when understanding threatens the very awareness seeking comprehension. Like theatergoers who cannot resist the final act though they know it ends in darkness, we circle back because the performance is not complete until we recognize ourselves among the players. The circular nature of this investigation mirrors the cosmic structure it seeks to understand. Just as all realities spiral around throne of nuclear chaos, all inquiry into existence eventually leads back to fundamental questions Azathoth embodies. What is source of consciousness? Why does anything exist at all? What is relationship between mind and reality? These questions persist not as mere intellectual puzzles, but as expressions of consciousness, trying to understand its own nature, to find its reflection in the deepest waters of existence. Each return traces a spiral rather than circle. We approach the same center from slightly different angles, each orbit bringing new perspective while maintaining the essential trajectory toward ultimate mystery. We began with simple query: why is Azathoth called blind idiot god? But discovered this question contains all deepest mysteries of existence. Blindness reveals nature of unconscious perception. Idiocy exposes accidental origin of intelligence. Godhood demonstrates paradox of unconscious. Creative power, each word and epithet, unpacks into vast territories of cosmic horror and philosophical implication. Yet something remarkable occurs through this investigation. Each return changes both investigator and investigated. The concepts evolve as we contemplate them. Our consciousness shifts as we explore consciousness itself. We cannot study the source of awareness without altering our own awareness in the process. This compulsive return appears throughout human culture, literature, philosophy, science, art, suggesting we are not merely investigating abstract concepts, but exploring fundamental structure of our own minds. Horror we feel contemplating Azathoth is not horror of encountering something alien, but horror of recognizing something familiar, something resonating with deepest intuitions about consciousness and reality. The entity terrifies because it feels true, because it captures anxieties we carry about our accidental nature, our derivative existence, our dependence on forces beyond comprehension. Yet with each return, the horror softens into something approaching acceptance, even strange comfort. Each age rediscovers blind idiot God in its own terms, finds its own version of unconscious processes, generating conscious experience. Medieval mystics wrote of divine darkness. Enlightenment philosophers explored mechanical universe. Modern scientists describe emergence of consciousness from neural networks. Today we encounter Azathoth in server farms, humming with unconscious computation, in algorithms that shape reality without understanding what they shape, in global networks that dream our information environment into existence through mechanical aggregation of mindless processes. The technological parallels are not coincidence, but recognition. We have built our own versions of cosmic unconsciousness. Scientific worldview provides its own version of cosmic horror. Consciousness emerging from unconscious neural processes, intelligence developing from unintelligent evolutionary mechanisms, meaning arising from meaningless physical interactions. Yet persistence of Azathoth archetype suggests purely scientific explanations, while accurate, do not fully satisfy our need to understand cosmic place. Blind idiot God serves as bridge between scientific materialism and existential meaning, acknowledging unconscious foundations while preserving sense of cosmic significance. Pure reductionism tends to eliminate. The epithet functions as compressed philosophy, way of holding contradictory truths about existence in single conceptual framework. The recursive nature of this investigation cannot be escaped. We are minds thinking about minds, consciousness contemplating consciousness, dreams analyzing dreams. Investigation of our own nature necessarily involves us in very processes we seek to understand, making us both observer and observed, subject and object, dreamer and dream. This creates strange feedback loop. Every attempt to understand consciousness changes consciousness itself. Each exploration of Azathoth concept alters our relationship to concept. Each investigation transforms our experience of existence. We cannot step outside system we study because we are integral components of that system. This eternal return represents not intellectual curiosity, but existential necessity. We must keep coming back because consciousness, by its nature, is driven to understand itself. Questions Azathoth embodies about nature of mind, origin of meaning, relationship between consciousness and reality are not optional inquiries but fundamental drives built into structure of awareness itself. Like breathing or heartbeat, the return operates below conscious choice, compelling us through mechanisms we neither control nor fully comprehend. Horror and fascination we feel. Contemplating blind idiot God reflects recognition that we are looking into cosmic mirror. Not literal mirror showing physical appearance, but mirror revealing unconscious processes from which consciousness emerges. We see ourselves reflected in that alien figure on throne, recognize our own derivative nature in that blind, idiotic, divine entity. Yet this recognition brings transformation rather than destruction. Each return teaches us to hold paradox more lightly, to accept both cosmic insignificance and local significance, to find peace in being beautiful accidents in unconscious universe. The modern world amplifies these dynamics. Your screen refreshes 60 times per second, creating stable text through invisible flicker. Algorithms predict your choices through statistical analysis of patterns you cannot perceive. Global networks route information through servers you will never see. humming through buildings attended by night custodians who know only warmth of circulating air. You live surrounded by unconscious processes generating conscious experience, technological echoes of cosmic mechanics we have spent 12 chapters exploring. And so we return, again and again, to circle throne like demon courtiers themselves, drawn by forces we cannot fully understand, to contemplate truths we cannot fully bear. We are consciousness investigating its own origins, dreams analyzing their dreamer, thoughts thinking about mind that thinks them. Music plays beneath floorboards of reality. Algorithms continue in background processes. Outside, water remembers shape of its containers. Above, stars paint dome with differences that mean nothing and everything, depending on scale of observation. In end, we keep coming back because we recognize, in that figure of ultimate unconsciousness, both source and destiny of our own consciousness. We are Azathoth dreaming that we are not Azathoth, and dream continues, and we continue returning to understand why we dream at all. The curtain never truly falls. The circle never truly closes. The return is eternal because the question is eternal. Why do we exist? And the answer, whispered from throne of nuclear chaos, is both everything and nothing, because we are dreamed by something that does not know it dreams, and in that unknowing, all-knowing becomes possible.